Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars, don't let them end.
Hey, welcome to the Cantina. Grab yourself a cup of blue milk and join us as we travel the galaxy together at sort of a medium light speed. I'm your host, Eileen, and our team will introduce themselves, starting with
co-host Lucas.
Also another co-host and producer on the show today, Nick Cooper here.
Producer Mary, and we have an executive producer, Damon, who does not have a mic right now.
But is behind the scenes doing a good job right here.
He's here in spirit.
So, joining us in a galaxy far, far away is John Wooliscroft, co-host of the Cinema Psycho Show and part-time podcast professor here at RMU. Luckily for us, John happens to be a Star Wars buff who regularly analyzes media in his podcast. He's here to dish out some Star Wars knowledge, so stay tuned to see a master at work.
Oh, I don't know if I deserve that, but hey, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm excited to talk some Star Wars shop with you guys.
We're excited too.
Yes, sirree, yes, sirree. Today's episode, we'll be interviewing John about his Star Wars thoughts, as well as discussing Star Wars as a product of its time. As a global phenomenon, the saga has sparked a ton of ads, commercials, and spin-offs, and much more from a bygone era. John, since you introduced this idea to us, would you like to explain a little bit more about today's discussion topic?
Yeah, since it's we're getting to the holiday season here, I have on the mind the Star Wars holiday special, which I'll kind of explain for people that don't know, like, hey, wait, there was a holiday special. There's a whole story there. But it originally aired in late November, around Thanksgiving time, 1978. And I am some kind of masochist, and I watch this thing every year. And a lot of the bootlegs that you find, because you can only find bootlegs because it's not readily available. And again, I'll get into that. Some of them do not have the commercials in there, but because it is just a copy of a tape from the original broadcast. But the one I have does, and I couldn't help but notice, maybe one night from imbibing a little too much, was that the commercials were a reflection of a world that was about to change under Reagan in just a handful of years, come January 20th, 1981, when he got elected president. Right. And it's kind of almost an eerie thing of watching what the idea of the American dream was in 1977 about to be ripped away. Right. So a lot of people have talked about the holiday special. A few people have talked about the commercials that go along with it. So yeah, in a nutshell, a long story long, that's kind of what I'm looking at to discuss with you guys here.
Cool. So kind of like the Super Bowl, but with the commercials and kind of the same aspect. The commercials are what make the Super Bowl, and yep. This did not disappoint.
Yeah, and it's to give a little bit of background. So there was going to be a 3-year gap in between New Hope and Empire, the first two Star Wars films, and to keep audience interest up, they tried to find any way to grab people's attention. And this is before the advent of home VHS tapes and everything, so they decided to do what TV always does. Let's do a variety special.
Right.
And people say that the Star Wars holiday special is so bizarre, and it is, but the thing is, if you know variety specials from the 70s, it's pretty on par with most of them. I think it's just strange to people, because it's Star Wars in this kind of weird setting with these gags and sketches and songs. George Lucas hated it so much that he buried it. He said, nobody will ever see this again. I want all of the prints destroyed or locked up. This will never be seen by human eyes ever again. And if it wasn't for the advent of home VHS players where you could record, the show, would have been lost of time. But I think it was there's up to 3 to 4 different people who recorded it and then turned their VHS into, something digital that they could then, at that time, just send out on DVD, because it was, before being able to post something like that on YouTube or Vimeo or any of these other streaming platforms. And because of that, it's essentially just the recording of an old VHS tape is why you get commercials and news bumpers and things like that on there as well, because you're just watching somebody's home video they recorded of the original broadcast, and that's
Correct.
really the only way to even see the holiday special now.
Sorry, I didn't
No,
mean
go
to
ahead.
cut you off. But that reminds me of the situation that happened with Nosferatu and Bram Stoker's widow. So, Bram Stoker's widow, actually, she filed a legal case to get Nosferatu. She did not want them releasing that, did not want them to have that out anywhere, and she actually won her case. But someone who had a copy of it somewhere in America actually sort of illegally ended up releasing it. So one person who had the copy ended up releasing Nosferatu, and that's the reason why we have that movie today.
I did not know that. That's fascinating.
Didn't
And the
either.
funny thing is with these type of things, like with the Star Wars holiday special, it probably would have been forgotten to time if they had just ignored it. But making it
Right.
this rare thing to find, and
Right.
tape traders and things like that is what made it this underground cult phenomenon.
Right. Well, and it's Star Wars too. I mean, kind of there is an appetite for that stuff.
Absolutely. But yeah, have any of you seen the holiday special before I introduced for the class today, or is this something that I made you suffer through?
So I vaguely remember it, and I was a little kid when it was on. So about 30 minutes in comes the virtual reality scene. I'm pretty sure that's probably why I was not allowed to watch it as a little kid. But we certainly watched all the variety shows of the day, like Donnie and Marie and all that kind of stuff. We watched those of the day, and I vaguely remember this special. But a lot of the ads I for sure remember watching on a regular basis, but I had not seen it in its entirety that I could remember.
Oh my goodness! I watched this right before this.
Yeah,
I was rushing. I really wanted to see it before we did this episode, and so I was watching it on 1.5 speed on YouTube, and I think that enhanced the experience. Honestly,
It had
that
to.
it was a work of art. I would be lying if I didn't say I understand why George Lucas wanted to kill it and bury it 6 feet under, but still, I'm happy to have had that grace my eyes today.
And it gave us Jar Jar Binks. So yeah.
Oh yeah, very true. Darth Jar Jar.
I mean,
So same as Lucas, pretty much. Just I knew about it, just never really watched much of it. So I skimmed through like the ads and also the holiday special right before all this. But yeah, I know that I think Eileen and I were talking about in our group chat before that it was so buried, and I think it might have been banned in other countries and stuff like that. But with the internet now, you could pretty much find anything about it out there now compared to in the past, whereas it was buried, like you said.
sure.
Yeah, there are whole communities now that search for lost media specifically, and that's something that I was sort of a little bit interested in. Lost media, stuff that's lost to time, projects that were scrapped or just didn't get mass produced like how something on a grander scale would. So now I think it's definitely easier to access that type of thing that's lost. People on the internet will find it.
Oh yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Keep stuff hidden.
Yeah, good point.
There's no burying anything anymore.
No, there's not. And as soon as
It'll
something
rise.
gets yanked, what's that?
I said it'll rise from the dead like a zombie, whether you want it to or not.
The internet
sure.
is forever.
You can disintegrate that
seen-
thing, but it'll be back.
I've seen things disappear from YouTube only to be brought back later. So sometimes things do get taken down because of copyright laws or whatever, but they always come back. Just under
Yeah,
somebody
let
else.
me throw a little one-liner from episode 9 in there from one of the characters. Somehow the Emperor Palpatine returned. Nothing's ever gone
Oh, right,
forever.
right,
Nobody's ever really gone. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Here's where I get things so now we're going to get a little heady. Is just talking about the commercial breaks that come with this. Like, there are ones that are just commercials of their time. They're kind of funny, like Tobor, which is just robot spelled backwards. It's a little robot toy that you can draw a line and it will go in there. There's Hungry Jack ads. There's the Lucille Ball variety show ads, and obviously Star Wars merchandise commercials. Gotta get those in there.
This was right out of one of those ads.
But a few things that I noticed, there was a huge concentration on unions, the automobile industry, and really just something that I noticed, and I could be reaching here, but just there was a lot of comments on, in November, there used to be snow. And it's like, wait a minute. I mean, weather used to be predictable back in the 1970s.
That's kind of horrifying.
But, again, I go to when Reagan, the airport workers were going on strike, and he basically said, and because one of his main goals was to disrupt unions, because God forbid workers have rights, is that if you don't return to work, we'll fire everybody in the airline and we'll just replace you. And they actually did do that, which some people still argue was possibly an illegal act, but they did. And now we're actually looking at, because they hired pretty much everybody at the same age at that time, that everybody now with the airlines are retiring at the same age, because they're all the same age. It's not, they don't have people in there from 18 to 70. Everybody is like around the age of 60 at the same time. But yeah, so one of the opening begins with a sponsorship from GM. And so, General Motors, speaking of unions and companies, is GM was notorious for setting their businesses overseas, because under the kind of like stock market situation that we saw under Reagan, it was everything was about profit and not about people. And GM was one of the ones that saw that happen, and it absolutely devastated Flint, Michigan. People used to live there. It used to be a prosperous place. They could get a car every 5 to 10 years. They could take their family on vacation. They weren't living like Bogey and Bacall, but but they were
the USA and your Chevrolet. That was the catch.
Yeah, and they could make an honest living. And these ads are permeated through there. But when they moved it overseas, so many people were out of work. It made Flint, Michigan a ghost town. People didn't know how to find work. That was their trade. And when I'm seeing these ads for General Motors, and they're these pieces of like, basically we live the American dream because we get to work at General Motors and we have pride in what we do and our work, and seeing these ads and knowing very soon they're going to be out of a job because they can send factories down to Mexico and pay people pennies on the dollar to do the same job. It's like, oh, that's kind of eerie and kind of upsetting, to think about that.
And they just didn't know yet, Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a similar situation. So I'm from Ohio, and, most kids I knew, most of their dads made tires, just like mine did. And kind of the same thing happened over there. My dad, we were lucky. Like, he never experienced a lapse in employment or anything like that. He went from road testing to in the lab, but like a lot of the production left town.
Yeah, that also reminds me of like the steel mills from the Pittsburgh area, about how like they all ended up going away during that time as well.
Yeah. I mean, they're still around.
Right. A lot of those ads were targeted right towards the blue collar, like you had mentioned also the union, that one commercial about undergarments actually, and union made, and that was so interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that one, because that's next up on my notes here. Like, they even almost like they saw it coming, because I think it was around this time that people started to come at unions. And I guess full disclosure, being an RMU here, I am in a union, but I've always been union pro. But yeah, the International Ladies Garment Workers Union, and that famous song, if you know of that era, look for the union label kind of saying like, make sure when you buy products that they're union based, and let's keep that in America and keep that going strong. And then to see that unions be completely destroyed, from the 80s till today, that it's kind of hard to come by unions unless they are very industrial based jobs. But a company like Starbucks makes so much money and their employees want to unionize, or Amazon, they want to unionize, and they'll do everything they can to absolutely destroy that dream, because they realize that if the workers have any power, then they're not going to be able to just treat them like dirt. But because these union ads and the GM ads, it reminds me in an eerie way of there's a video compilation on YouTube of 9/11, like the morning of before 9/11 happened, and the video is so kind of unsettling, even though nothing's really happening, but what's coming.
Right.
And I think it's even like Al Roker said, it's a quiet day today, maybe too quiet, just like very flippant comment, like, Al, you have no idea what's coming. And so to kind of watch these ads and realize that these people's livelihoods and we're going to be stolen from them, either with the company disappearing, or they're gonna, all the rights that they have are going to be stripped away from their union rights in there. It's kind of leaves an unsettling feeling in the pit of my stomach.
Right, like everything they know is about to change.
Yeah. My mom was a caseworker downtown Pittsburgh, and she was in one of the office buildings, and she was like worried it was gonna like one of the planes was gonna come here, but then it ended up going to like Somerset County, so like a bit, like an hour north or so or something.
But until it happens, you don't know while it's still happening. I mean, I can imagine that had to be a very real fear.
Oh yeah, she rushed home from work and picked me up from my aunt's house that was babysitting me. I was only 4 months old at the time, so
my fiance is from Latrobe, and which is basically right outside Somerset County, and the trajectory of the plane, it flew over her, the one that crashed, United 93, it flew over her high school.
Wow.
Yeah. So but moving on with some of these ads here, there is a CBS news break about Brezhnev trying out the neutron bomb, which we do have our Cold War fears here. And nothing better than the idea of the neutron bomb. Like, why destroy buildings? Let's just kill people.
That was so off-putting.
Yeah. And then, comments from the bumper about cold weather this time of year and how that doesn't exist anymore. And so, people, please don't come down on the Cantina here. They invited me on to like talk about this. Like, these are my political views. I'm not these ads from 3 a.m. like does not necessarily reflect the affiliate, so they gave me a platform to come on and bitch. So don't come down on the show here. Send me your hate mail if you don't like.
Go down on him. He has his own podcast.
Pick it up with his audience.
Go give him hate comments, not us.
But I old enough to remember when it did snow in November and early December. And now we don't really
around
see that.
for the blizzard of whatever it was, 77, 78. Like we didn't have school for like a week,
Yeah.
I remember like whenever I was like in senior in high school, I was noticing that like Christmas, like in the snow, like I would be like please let it snow on Christmas. Whenever like it would have snowed in like October some years. When I was little, I used to be able to like literally like dig tunnels in my backyard. Yeah. But now it's just like it's a sad case. I actually spent a Christmas down in Florida the one year where it doesn't snow, and it's crazy that like that can low-key be our future up here.
That would be wild. Yeah, I mean, I remember, you either had to design your Halloween costume to go over your snowmobile suit or under it. I mean, there was no, you had to dress warm because odds are pretty good it was going to be that cold.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to age myself here. In 1993, we had a snowstorm up in Edinburgh where I lived, and I went as a werewolf, and my mom made these like boots with fur on them for me, and I lost one in the snow mound trick-or-treating.
Oh no. I was Cookie Monster one year because it was warm, because like it was a warm costume.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of reminds me of, I think it was the early 2010s. We had like a blizzard when I was in like elementary school when we had like a week off of school.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like that, like late 70s one. So like we had so many days off that like towards like the end of the year, there was not like enough days left to like make it up. We would have been going through like the end of June if we had to make up the days. It was so, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember. I think I only remember one like actual big blizzard in my lifetime. It might be the same one he's talking about, or it might have been earlier than that. But I remember that was the only time in my life where I was able to like. There was a giant mound of snow so large in my backyard that I made little tunnels through it and made like a little a little clubhouse, and that's the only time in my life where there was ever enough snow to do that.
Yeah, we did that for the big one in.
Yeah, so just backpedaling to getting back to the Star Wars theme. John, what's your favorite episode of Star Wars, you would say?
And why is it A New Hope?
Yeah, well, it is actually. I got New Hope right behind me. I would say if you ask me on an entertainment level, I would say Empire is probably more because it's kind of just wall-to-wall action. But for me, the fact that the movie, if I'm looking at it from a critic standpoint, like looking at movies from that lens, the movie ending on kind of a cliffhanger, not really having a complete story, is why I think New Hope actually holds the candle as the best complete Star Wars film.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of a Return the Jedi fan over Empire, just because of like the Empire is on a cliffhanger like that. So I feel like Return of the Jedi is more like a complete story, honestly. But then I also could say like a Revenge of the Sith. I mean, they're all good
Revenge
though.
of the Sith.
So
I'll always stand on that one as my favorite. But
I'm a person of a certain age where I crap on the prequels, and I know that if you grew up with them, if you were little, then you probably love them.
It's a generational thing, I suppose.
Right.
But on this, I remember our very first episode. Our very first episode was focused around it was these three questions. It was what your favorite episode is, what's your like favorite moment, and what moment like traumatized you the most when you first saw it. What about you, John? Do you have like a favorite scene and moment and like a specific point that was like the most horrifying?
I would say my favorite moment is when Luke uses the Force and actually blows up the Death Star. I do think it's funny though because he turns his targeting computer off and nobody is freaking out at like at the battle station command, like being like, we have one more chance of this before we get blown up, and this guy just turned his targeting computer off. But yeah, Luke swooping in to save the day, stopping Vader from hitting him, and then blowing up the Death Star. And if there was anything I would say that was traumatizing, when I was a little kid, I assumed that Han Solo was dead, when they put him in carbonite. And like, when you're like 6 or 7, like I shouldn't say 6, 7 in today's climate.
Right. 6, 7.
I'd say when you're 7 or 8. You're not expecting your heroes to be in that level of peril because it's not what you see on a Saturday morning cartoon or something like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's a different feeling entirely.
Yeah. Although Chewie's family is in a lot of danger in this one.
Well,
Chewie's family had me absolutely deceased.
Also, one of the weirdest things I've ever seen was I wasn't aware that he had a family and that things were so interesting at home. But good on her for taking a cooking class.
Well, yeah, it's nice that she allows Chewie's dad to live there too. It's got to be hard when you have the in-law living in that house.
Right, no kidding.
I thought when that was happening, I swear I thought Chewie's wife was about to cheat on him.
with her father-in-law?
No, with the trader guy. She was touching up to him.
I mean, there's all kinds of that.
There's so much.
There's just, you could even kind of make the connection like from A New Hope where Leia was in love with Luke because they didn't know they were siblings at the time. Like, I just saw the other day, like, there was a TikTok or something of, like, Han Solo's face whenever Leia says that that's her brother. He's like... he's like, wow. Like, oh.
common theme.
That's the problem when you don't really map these things out. Don't ever let George Lucas convince you that he had all three written ahead of time. He didn't know that he was going to have them be siblings, and it's kind of like, now we need to backpedal all that smooching.
Isn't that why they used to do blood tests for people when they got married? So they made sure they weren't too close in the bloodline there.
We're both the products of the milkman. Yeah.
Oh no.
Milkman.
But yeah, just to kind of wrap things up on the commercial ends, we see, this country may be in danger because we could be losing something we can't afford to lose. And we see a bald eagle flying. It's, again, don't let them come for our unions. And the idea of a car being built in the United States, which obviously they still are, but a decent car being built in the United States and it being affordable is something of a bygone era. So yeah, that was, thank you guys for letting me come on and just kind of talk about, this is a show about Star Wars and I'm talking about commercials that come in. That's like having a show about the Super Bowl and just talking about the ads. But yeah, no, I really appreciate it because I do think it's a great reflection of how the world has changed. And
right, for sure. It directly ties into the mainframe of how things were, back then in the when that movie came out, and then the special. So I appreciate you bringing the special to our forefront, though. That was interesting.
Yeah. I did not know that existed, to be completely honest, and now my life has changed.
Yeah, it was just folklore to me, but now it's front and center. And some of those things I can't unsee. You know what I'm saying?
Traumatized for life.
Yeah. And movies are absolutely, products of their time, and so this is, the first Star Wars movie came out in June of 77. And this is just 1 year later, and as Godard once said, movies are not the reflection of reality, but rather the reality of reflection. And we see that thanks to actually being able to see the commercials as a product of this.
For sure. I think it's awesome that the commercials are there, it just kind of, it's like a time capsule, you can't, well, you could, like our VCR remote had a pause button, for commercials, but then it would put lines in your tape and stuff. But I love the commercials. I think it's kind of cool because, it is like a time machine. You get to go back and see all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Thank you so much, John Wooliscroft, for joining us on this episode and expanding our Star Wars knowledge with your expertise. And we so appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
Well, thank you for letting me rant and rave for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, awesome. Of course, man. Yeah. Yeah, man. Before we finish up, check out John's podcast, Cinema Psychos. You have any plugs you'd like to give right now?
Yeah, we're heading into the holiday season, so we got we're picking out if anybody has suggestions on the worst Hallmark Christmas movie they've ever seen, because we're going to want to do a commentary track on that. We'll be talking about Gremlins and so we're into the holiday season here with the Cinema Psycho show. We're running out of Thanksgiving based movies to review this time of year. So again, if anybody has any suggestions for those, so yeah, we drop an episode every week. So we're going to be busy and just keep going at it. We're going to be doing a review of Running Man. We're going to be
interesting.
Yeah, nice. We were lucky to get an advanced screening of that, so we checked that out. So this Sunday we'll be recording that, and then and I say Sunday, it's what is that, the 20th? I don't know when people might be listening to this 5 years from now, but
right.
So that might be back catalog. But yeah, so this upcoming week we'll be dropping our review of the new Running Man.
Cool.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it, and
I'm interested.
Yeah.
Did that have Sylvester Stallone in it previously? The original?
It was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay.
Yeah. So for this one, it's Glenn Powell, and I've heard that he kind of has more of a comedic tone to it. Like he could switch back and forth between comedic or real serious, whereas Arnold was kind of just the big, bulky, stoic kind of guy that was
right.
Arnold's a movie star. He's not an actor.
Right, yeah. So
fair.
Yeah.
Unless you want to watch Jingle All the Way. Classic, right? Was
Hey,
it?
we do have a watch-along commentary for that too.
There you
Check-
go. Perfect. Oh, before I forget, I like your Obi-Wan Kenobi patron saint of all things galactic. That's kind of what it looks like.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I had to give him taller than Darth here.
Yeah, I mean, right. I get it.
Yeah,
I'm
for
all
for it.
our audio-only listeners, we did set up some
We have
of
some
our
merch.
props. And
Yeah.
Yeah, we should all showcase what we got in our backgrounds.
Some of our
We got,
memorabilia.
Look at this thing.
This
Oh,
is
yeah.
probably the coolest thing we got here.
This
I'm
is cool.
gonna play it for the audience, but it's just a little Darth Vader piggy bank that we got here. If you want to listen to this real quick.
I do want to.
hopefully Disney doesn't
Wow.
copyright strike us. Yeah, so anybody getting this podcast that's not getting the video form, you're missing out because that is
Yeah.
that piggy bank is
Yeah.
pretty.
Go.
pretty tight.
We have some visuals here.
Yeah.
I have a drawing of us all,
Yeah. Hand drawn.
hand drawn.
Right by Mary.
Yes.
And then here we have our beautiful guest creeping in the corner.
Right.
Lurking in the background like
There's
a complete
Dawn.
creep.
Beautiful.
Our guest,
Guest of honor.
special guest this week.
All right.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Well,
Alrighty.
we're docking our spacecraft at the spaceport. Looks like the Millennium Falcon is all gassed up and ready to go, and we're gonna take off, and we'll see you all here next week,
May the
Alrighty.
force be with you and happy Life Day.
And
And also with you.
and also with you.
Peace out.
Peace out.